Alright, we've had an absolutely chaotic Canadian GP, but it doesn't end there. In this video, we're going to break down what's actually going on between Red Bull and Mercedes, because the feud just got a lot more spicy than it was before. Red Bull tried to get George Russell penalized for braking under safety car, and a lot unfolded after that. The FIA decided to reject these Red Bull claims, but after that, there's been a war going on social media. Some people are saying that George Russell played it smart, others are saying that he was setting up Max Verstappen. Today we're going to break down what Mercedes said, what Red Bull said, the documents, the fan reactions, and at the end of this video, I'm going to give you my personal opinion. Alright, let's start from the beginning of this story in case you missed it. We had a safety car deployment after the Norris and Piastri accident. If you want to see my breakdown on that, check out my previous video. The issue here kind of reminded me of what happened in Abu Dhabi 2021. Basically, George Russell is slowing down the car a bit too much, what it looked like on turns 12 and 13, what it looked like to trick Max into getting a penalty because he's already at the limit. Now, here's the truth. We don't know if he did it on purpose, if he was trying to trick Max or not. But either way, the FIA decided that this move was not illegal. Max then momentarily overtakes Russell, which causes all the drama. Russell then reports this on the radio, which is what triggered a lot of people to think that it was planned. And then what seemed small on the surface was actually a much deeper issue that's been going on between these two drivers and these two teams. So Red Bull blew up, basically saying that the timing seemed a little too convenient and that he was setting him up. So Red Bull decided to file an official protest to the FIA. And because this is a very long document and I don't want to bore you, I'm going to just summarize it for you and show it on screen. The first thing that Red Bull points out is that the braking was excessive and seemed like the timing was iffy, like it was some kind of plan. Then Red Bull alleges that George was looking in his mirrors before braking, making even more of their case that this was planned. And then the final claim by Red Bull is that George Russell goes on the radio right away, basically saying that he was baiting Max Verstappen into a final penalty that would ban him from racing in the next race. In simple terms, what Red Bull is arguing is that George Russell did this on purpose to get Max in trouble. Now here's Mercedes' defense. The first claim is that George Russell was warming up the brakes and avoiding the safety car. They also show the data of how much pressure was applied on the brakes, which was 30 psi, which under FIA standards does not qualify for severe. Their third point is that he only braked after confirming that Max was to the side to avoid any accidents. The final point is that George Russell's radio call was factual, not manipulative. If you believe George and Mercedes' version, basically it sounds like a classic safety car management. Now Red Bull and Red Bull fans clearly didn't buy this. Here's what the FIA's verdict was. The FIA decided that Russell did nothing wrong and that braking was not erratic, was actually normal under safety car conditions. Red Bull's protest was rejected and their money returned because yes, to do a formal protest in Formula 1, you have to pay some money. The stewards weren't just unconvinced, they just completely rejected it and said it was normal racing conditions. But this issue continued later on, especially during the F1 premiere. And this is why I'm making this video, because this goes much deeper than the Red Bull protest or what's going on between Max and George. We're clearly seeing a divide here between two teams that are having lots of problems with each other. At the F1 movie premiere in New York City, Toto Wolff talked to Sky Sports and he said the following. It took Team Red Bull Racing 2 hours before they launched the protest. So that's what they're doing. Honestly, it's so petty and so small. They've done it in Miami, now they launched 2 protests. They took one back because it was ridiculous. They, meaning Red Bull, come up with some weird clauses, what they call clauses. I guess the FIA needs to look at that because it's so far-fetched, it was rejected. You know, you race, you win, you lose on track. That was a fair victory for us, like so many they had in the past. And it's just embarrassing. Then he said, I don't even know what you refer to as unsportsmanlike behavior or something. What is it all about? Who decides it? Because I'm 100% sure it's not Max. He's a racer. He would never go for a protest on such a trivial thing, he said. Then Christian Horner, Red Bull's team principal, was asked if he regretted doing this. And he said, no, absolutely not. It's a team's right to do so. We saw something we didn't think was quite right. You have the ability to put it in front of the stewards. And so that's what we chose to do. Absolutely no regrets in that. Now, based on this so far, who do you think was right? Red Bull or Mercedes? Let me know down below in the comments. And if you like real facts-based commentary, this is the channel for you. Go ahead and click subscribe. Let's see some reactions from the community to see what fans are actually thinking. Now let's start with the comment that I saw on my own channel. Let me make it clear, I read all of your comments, and unless you're rude, which I'm gonna block you, I'm going to read your comment and answer to it. This person told me after my Canadian GP breakdown, can you please address what Russell tried to do with Max behind the safety car? It was very sneaky of him to abruptly brake and then accusing Max of overtaking behind the safety car. Russell was clearly trying to burn Max because of his penalty point situation. Now, as you can see, this is a Red Bull fan from my audience. This is what some of the Red Bull fans are thinking. Let's go into Reddit because a different story was unfolding there. All right, let's start with this Reddit thread that I saw blow up on Reddit. So let me break down what people are saying. This person right here, I think, had an interesting comment. They're talking about Red Bull's point 12 that it made them laugh. Let me break it down for you. Red Bull's 12th point was that they also suggested that it must have been obvious to the driver for car number 63, George Russell, that the race would end under safety car, that it was necessary for car 63, George Russell, once again, to maintain heat in tires and brakes. And this person says, I mean, yes, it should have been obvious that the race was going to end under safety car, but it doesn't always work like that, does it? We only need one racing lap. Makes no sense to be prepared for all eventualities. This other person said Red Bull's argument was sort of dead in the water, but one of the biggest nails in the coffin was Mercedes bringing the receipts that Max was braking the same amount on the same straight in the previous safety car laps. This other person said, pretends to be shocked. What a nothing burger this was. This person said, not surprised at all. Congratulations to Mercedes for their first double podium finish in 2025. Edited, reread the document. GR63 George Russell is pretty impressive with his reasoning and argument. Of course, what we're seeing here is the other side of the coin, what probably a lot of Mercedes fans are thinking about this situation. Now, this is what was going on Twitter under the Formula 1 post. Here we can clearly see a sharp difference. A lot of people accusing Formula 1 and the FIA of British bias, which is something that people talk about quite a bit. First comment saying, not surprised, George is British. Second comment is this image that says it all. Basically, if you're British, no penalty. If you're not British, it's a penalty. This other person says, honestly, the British bias stinks so much it is embarrassing. And you expect people to believe in your ability to conduct a race with fairness. What Russell did today, had Max been in his position, you would have very likely penalized them. Please have some self-awareness. This person asking the Twitter AI, Grok, how many Canadian GP officials have a British passport? The final comment I'm going to read is this other person that said, well, of course it was rejected. They're constantly nailing Max for everything, but whenever Max doesn't deserve, they won't rule in his favor. Not happy at all with these new rules or whoever is judging. As you can see, there's obviously a big split in the community. I've been looking on Reddit and Twitter for about an hour now, and it seems pretty much like the community is very much split, and I think we're probably going to see the same in these comments down below, so get to it. If you want to know my personal opinion, look, when I was watching the race, it looked like George did a smart move. Yes, it looked a little suspicious, but he made sure to keep it under regulation. I'm going to speculate here, so let me make that clear. I think that George has had enough feud with Max that it could be the case that he did this on purpose to trap Max or set him up or bait him. Now, at the end of the day, as a driver, you are allowed to do that as long as you do it within the legal framework. And he did it for Formula 1's legal framework. We saw this after the FIA investigated this, that it was legal. Now, do I think that Red Bull was wrong for protesting? Absolutely not. Even though it may look childish, what they did was also trying to get things to go their way. At the end of the day, all they had to do was pay £2,000. That's nothing for them. And they get to perhaps punish their rival. So both of them may be playing dirty games here. Again, this is alleged. I don't know the facts. I'm not inside their heads. But most likely, they're both trying to play dirty games. This is normal. We see this in Formula 1 all the time. And it's fun to see this. Now, what this actually means for us fans and Formula 1 as a whole is that this rivalry is only getting more heated. So if you want more breakdowns like this one, where I explain everything that's going on in Formula 1 to you in simple terms with the facts, go ahead and subscribe. I hope you like this video. Let me know your opinions down below. You can click right here to subscribe, and you can click right here to watch the next video I created just for you. My name is Mars. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.